to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
Me, Rob, and we're talking about some Giants news today.
Oh, yeah, we got all kinds of Giants news. We have news with ex-Giants, we have news with current Giants, we have news with potential future Giants. We've pretty much covered all the bases here. So, we got to start off today, of course, with the potential future New York football Giant here. And this is a guy that we talked about when we first hired a certain offensive line coach there in Carmen Bricillo. We looked at potential people who were free agents that might be a good fit for the New York Giants there going forward, that would be familiar with the system, had success with him in the system there. And we came up with a name that came in for a visit today, and that's Greg Van Roten. Now, may sound familiar to some New York fans in general. You see the jersey he was wearing in the picture there, as he was a former Jet there. It was originally reported by ESPN's Jeremy Fowler that he was visiting the Giants here today on Monday. And like I said, he played for Carmen Bricillo there, the Raiders last year, started all 17 games, gave up 5 sacks, which was the 9th most in the NFL. So obviously that's not a good stat to have. But he also logged a 75.3 PFF grade. So that's a very good grade. And I always say stats can be a little misleading when it comes to sacks sometimes, because you're looking at, like, who was responsible? Well, do you know the play? Do you know who's supposed to guard who?
Who's putting pressure? Who's John with
John
Who's John with who?
Yeah,
John Magellan.
So to give you an idea, though, Andrew Thomas last year, 76.1 PFF grade. 75.3 by Greg Van Roten this past season, I should say. So when you're close to Andrew Thomas, granted, Andrew Thomas had an injured year short, like this, I'm not saying it's Andrew Thomas normal, but you're still doing something right. And that's not to sit there and say that this guy is the future starter, future all-star, whatever, the Pro Bowler, anything crazy like that there, because he's probably not. The guy was eventually an undrafted free agent from UPenn, signed with the Packers there to start, spend time with the Seahawks, the Jaguars, the Jets, the Bills, and even the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL. Now, you don't typically bounce around like that when you're a very good player. But he had a very good year last year. So that's what's got me going, okay, there's potential there. He is 34 there, so we had to temper our thoughts to the fact that he's probably, I think,
long-term answer.
Yeah, he's one of two things, I think. Either he fits in as a veteran who just happens to know Bricillo's system, which is nothing wrong with that, guys. Is there anybody in the backup guard position right now that you're excited about? Let's be very frank there for a minute. As of right now, the way it stands, if you have Jon Runyan Jr. on one side and Jermaine Eluemunor on the other side, like that's what they've been talking about for the most part, then Aaron Stinney I like, but I'm not so sure I got much more beyond that, Yeah, I mean, you really got faith in some of the guys we drafted the last couple of years. Schlottman is also not necessarily a bad option either, but, are you that impressed by our North Carolina duo from a couple of years ago that can't stay healthy, can't stay on the field? How many times did we need guys and we just didn't have them? So, yeah, keep bringing people in that have some sort of talent, because the bar is set low, guys. The bar is set low.
How low can it go?
Oh, it's the limbo game. We've definitely, I think, got to the point where the bar's in the goddamn floor. But it's like, I look at this and I wonder. And Rob, I love to read the tea leaves. I love to read the tea leaves
as he drinks his tea.
And I think, and I'm like, well, actually, I had some chocolate milk before I started, and also a glass of rum separate from that too. But
ooh, saucy over here.
It's a rum evening. But I look at the fact that it's late in the season. This is not a early in the offseason obvious plan kind of move at that point there. He may have been on their back burner, but if they were interested in him, they would have some conversations, you would think, early on during the offseason. The fact that it's happening this late makes me think that they're trying to change course on something. So I go look and go, okay, what are they trying to change course on? Well, who's the one guy who's been on the hot seat already to start this offseason and is basically not been seen at all on the field during the OTA, riding a bike for part of it, and that's about it.
Ooh.
That's Evan Neal. So I have no information, guys, that nobody else has. I'm not trying to claim that.
It's pure speculation.
Speculation, exactly. But with the purest of speculation,
so pure.
Is it possible that Jermaine Eluemunor goes over to right tackle, which is where I personally would like him to be? Van Roten then goes over to right guard, where he played alongside Eluemunor just last year with the Las Vegas Raiders, and the two were very successful together. Then you put Jon Runyan at the left guard position, which is where he's already said he prefers to play. And then Evan Neal has to earn his spot. He's not just handed a starting position. And I'm not so sure that's the plan, guys. It's just, again, when something happens later on in the year, like this, like later on this offseason, that means something happened, guys. That's something we don't know about yet. That's not something like you're like, let's just pick this guy up. What the hell? Like, that doesn't happen that way.
No.
Someone has disappointed them so far, or someone is injured. That's usually one of the two scenarios is what happens.
Yeah, it's pretty common. Mr. Neal get himself hurt. Flipping them burgers.
Yeah, that's exactly. He got a carpal tunnel. Flipping those burgers. We've talked about it before. Evan Neal they make it seem like this is a make or break year for him. I don't think it's a make or break year. It's a make or break off season for Evan Neal. This team is not going to wait long and see what happens.
No,
if you look at what they've showed us so far on Hard Knocks, and you watch that show, Joe Shane is basically pissed off Mara on purpose and basically ignored him, not listening to things he wants to do. Now, that's okay when you're winning. When you're not winning, that's an issue. That puts everybody on the hot seat, not just Joe Shane, but that makes Joe Shane make moves to make sure he doesn't get himself on the hot seat.
Correct.
And I think that's exactly what this is. Now, again, it's a visit. It is not a signing. It is not the greatest song in the world. It is but a tribute.
This is the tribute.
But you look at what's going on and you go, this would make some sense if that's what it is. Why else would you bring this guy in? And typically when the Giants bring somebody in for a visit, a signing does follow. If you look at some of the guys that brought in last year, like Robinson's a perfect example. Ashawn Robinson got brought in, and then everybody kind of forgot he went for a visit and then got signed like a month later. The Giants typically in the Shane era have signed people that have come in for a visit.
Yeah.
It's like a formality.
I mean, that's fair. Normally you visit somewhere before you get signed. You don't just get signed up.
Yeah.
But it is, last offseason, there's definitely a change since the Shane era. Like, if they're going to make a move this late in the offseason, there's a good shot that they're going to say, hey, you kid.
Hey, you.
Shambox.
Hey, you. Bada boom. Bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom.
So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens overall, but I'm kind of excited because it's, again, Greg Van Roten falls into this category of where he's not great, guys. I'm not suggesting he is by no sense of the imagination. But what I'm suggesting is he may be better than what we have. And that's all that matters. We're not going for a top 5 offensive line this year. I'd be freaking ecstatic with it. Don't get me wrong. That should be the goal. But the realistic, obtainable goal is to have an average offensive line after having a horrendous one the last few years / decade.
Listen, we've said this quite a bit. Yeah, 30 years. If you jump up to 15 after being 30,
Yep.
At 32, it's a hell of an increase. Is 15 the best?
Hell.
No. But is it a drastic increase? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. We'll see what happens there. But I think expect a signing to come and expect that signing to be for a reason. Somebody's going to get either bye-bye or someone's going to be sitting on the bench that you thought might not have been. Something is happening here, you know? But we'll find out what. So let's get into another piece of news here that broke today that we were planning on talking about before the news even broke today. And then news broke today that added to the news that we were going to talk about today. And that's a very long way of starting off telling you guys that we think we might have some proof that Joe Schoen simply didn't want Saquon Barkley on the Giants. I know that's kind of a bold thing to suggest, but to some people. And it's funny how Giants fans have completely taken one side or the other. Saquon didn't want to be a Giant. Joe Schoen didn't want Saquon to be a Giant. One of the two camps. I'm on camp. Neither one wanted to be around each other.
Yeah. It was a failed marriage.
It was a very failed marriage. There was no counseling that was going to fix this problem.
And no one knew how to say goodbye until it was at the last moment.
Joe Schoen allowed it to be an open marriage and then just didn't work out from there. So Barkley was interviewed by Diana Rossini of The Athletic for her Scoop City podcast. A snippet was released today here on Monday, and the full episode will be released tomorrow, just to give you guys a heads up if you all want to listen to it there. But this is what the snippet said. This was Saquon Barkley talking about, this is right after the conversation in Hard Knocks there that they had, where it's the most awkward beginning to a conversation. And then Joe Schoen tells him basically that we're going to let you test the open market. And this is what he said. He said, it was over after that phone call, in my opinion. I'd never in my heart truly believed that they were going to match it, or they only wanted me to keep me. They only wanted me for a lower price. So no matter what, I probably wasn't going to go back. Now that's Saquon basically saying he was done.
Yeah.
But not because he necessarily wanted to, but because he felt like they were done. So, the question is, was Saquon right? And did the Giants not really want him back? So, did some deep diving into numbers here. We did a little counting. They came out like jazz hands. We're supposed to be typing.
I was about to say. Count Drew. Fix that hat. Man in there.
Stick a little cane. But here's what basically the deal was. That the hypothetical deal, we're gonna call it, because again, it was never officially offered to Saquon, but it's the hypothetical that Joe Schoen threw at him. He said 3 years, and he gave it per year, but we're gonna give you a total of $37.8 million, $26 million guaranteed. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on, I gave it wrong. This is what the Eagles gave him. We offered him the hypothetical 3 years, $37.5 million, $25 million guaranteed. So the Eagles gave him 3 years, $37.8 million, $26 million guaranteed. So you're talking a difference of $300,000 and $1 million in guarantee. That's the only difference.
Now, a different market and a different. Yeah, you're going to give up the potential of, a third of a million to $1 million to tarnish your legacy, to be in a situation where you could be, a Giant for life, the future Hall of Famer for the Giants, the Ring of Honor. It says a lot in his behalf.
I think it says a lot on both behalves, though, honestly. So
it does.
Let's go back to Hard Knocks here for a second, the last episode. The Giants upped their offer to Jon Runyan Jr. to make sure the Jets didn't get him. They projected his value at $8 to $9 million and gave him $10 million. They upped their offer to Jermaine Eluemunor to make sure the Cardinals didn't get him. They had him at $5 to $6 million, gave him $7 million a year. They upped their offer to Drew Lock to make sure the Seahawks didn't get him back. They valued him at $4 million, gave him $5 million. To match the Eagles' offer, all the Giants had to do was an additional $100,000 per year and $1 million additional guaranteed money. As soon as Joe Schoen heard the best offer, again, we don't know what was said on Ed Berry's side. I'm not trying to pretend we have all these, information here. But you heard what happened. He was given the best offer that Saquon had and said, "We're out." That's what he was told. He said, "We're out." We heard him say it. All the Giants had to do to match the offer that the Eagles gave him, assuming the Eagles were the best offer, and that's the one he takes, you have to assume that's probably the case, was $100,000 a year and $1 million in guaranteed salary. Why would he increase all of those offers for all those other players, but not Barkley? Leads me to believe that Saquon was not necessarily wrong, that Joe Schoen simply didn't want him.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are out there vilifying Saquon Barkley, trying to make him seem like the villain here. And I think that's the way Joe Schoen kind of wrapped it up to make it seem like. I really do think that, because he knew somebody had to be the villain and he didn't want it to be him. But in the end, if you're going to pick a villain, it's actually Joe Schoen, I think. But I don't think either one of them has to be the villain. You can just say the Giants wanted to move on. The problem is the Giants didn't just say, "I want to move on." If Joe Schoen had simply said to him, "Listen, we're probably not in. If you drop your offer, where you think you're going to be at money-wise big time, let us know. It's not that we don't want you. We have other needs we need to focus our money on right now." I think that would have gone over a lot better.
From a business point, yes, but when you're talking to an individual that you need to work in a relationship going forward, and it's a lot harder to say something as a transaction like, "You're right. You play with us through your prime. Did you get paid the best? Don't gotta get the best money you can. Stay with us. We would like your talent, but we don't want to pay you to what you think you can get."
No, but you can say
that goes
saying that, "Stay with us, don't get your talent." You can sit there and say, "We don't think we can afford to keep you. We would love to have you if the price happens to drop. But we're going to let you free. We're not going to try to cage you up at that point. Get your best offer." If you
want, that's a little different from what you're saying before. But that's
all in the wording.
Yeah, it's because at the end of the day, the biggest thing that Shane talked about was his medical history. His medical history, and
everybody has access to that. I mean, let's be honest.
You're not wrong.
Everybody,
they had that. And
as far as that, so Beeb's already sitting there saying, it all came time to the medical, which we know and other people don't. So don't have to so much when you don't. That's BS. I'm sorry, Beeb. Much respect to you, because we appreciate you tuning in here, but that's BS, because every single team brings people in for visits. Every single team has medical staff go over them with a fine-tooth comb before they sign the dotted line. Look at, for example, a couple of years ago, we got, what's his name? Kyle Rudolph. Remember, we found something wrong with him. We still had him sign the contract. We still did the contract with him. But every team has a chance to find this stuff out.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to say. Watching Hard Knocks, let's go back. You're right. Shane probably didn't want him back, but it wasn't about the history, all that. It was, he went through the business aspect, and when he talks in Hard Knocks, sometimes it looks like it's very hard for him to put the emotional aspect of these are not just assets, but they're also players and individuals. When he talks down about the team, which these players are also assets, he has a better idea and understanding how to say, "I need this asset. I would like this asset. We can't afford this asset." But there's a difference of saying that and saying it to a person. So when he went over Barkley's medical staff, his history and talked about his age and talked about how he's played, he broke him down as an asset. And you can't say that to a player. Is all I'm trying to get at.
You can though, and I don't think
But
it's
not,
wrong with, but I don't think
not
there's
the
anything
way,
wrong with being honest saying,
but
this
you're
is where
also
we're
not
at.
listening to what I'm saying. Not
No,
the
but I
way
am.
he's talking, but not the way he could say it.
I
So
don't
for him,
think-
the best way is to
I
say what he
honestly
said.
don't think he sees these players as people so much. I think he sees them as assets. I really do. I think
That's
the
what you
problem
said.
is no, but you're saying like he sees them as players and assets and tries to.
No, he
both.
doesn't know how to break them down. He doesn't know how to say it differently. Like he doesn't. I don't think he has the ability to differentiate the player and the asset. Like you're a player, so you're an asset. That's fine, but he doesn't know how to break it down to the individual level. So when he's going to tell you, like, "Hey, listen, I don't want you to be on this team because we can't afford you," and you know, you just got too much tread on those tires, and you get beat up a lot, and you've just been a workhorse. And stats say that if you're not, King Henry, you're pretty much going to get a flat tire every season, and we just don't want that. Like,
See, I just think it's to me this wrong way of dealing with people. Like if you don't want somebody on your team, then whatever the reason is,
that's when you look at the person as a player and a person and not an asset.
But you can say that, and the problem is if you keep doing that kind of aspect, especially people that have been the face of a franchise, done right by the team, and all that kind of stuff, there, you're going to gain a reputation, and that's not a reputation you want. Because in the end, some things are small deciding factors of where you play for. And, that's one of those deciding factors. I just don't like the way Shane handled it personally. I don't like the way Barkley did either, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I think we talked about it before where neither one of them wanted to be the victim. I think, or the villain, sorry. But I think in the end, Shane set it up into that method where like Barkley had to go into like, how do I protect my image and how do I protect myself? Granted, him picking the Eagles is probably the worst way of protecting his image. Yeah. But I think that in the end, like you're going to see Barkley now, and we'll get the whole thing tomorrow, obviously, as far as that. But I think Barkley's now going on the offensive because Shane is trying to make it appear like Barkley's the one that like didn't want to be a Giant and didn't want this and that. Which, first off, I'll say this, Barkley, if that was a legit offer, you should have taken the offer. Because what you would have made as a New York Giant for the next 3 years in endorsements, being the face of the franchise and everything, as opposed to just being another Eagle, would have been a whole lot more money. I definitely think that part of it. But
most likely. Be comparable.
He went somewhere he felt like he was wanted. I don't think he felt wanted by the Giants. And quite frankly, I don't think he was wanted except for by John Mara. John Mara's the one guy's like, we need this guy. Like, I mean, like the scouts and the GM team and stuff that were in the room and all, like they all wanted him. But I think they all recognized we're not making moves. And here's what it all boils down to if you're a Giant fan. As far as whether or not you think it's the right move or the wrong move. Did you want Brian Burns? You can talk all about the offensive line changes and all that kind of stuff all you want. Did you want Brian Burns? Because if you think about it, Brian Burns is getting almost as much as Saquon and Xavier McKinney put together.
Yep.
That's the thing. And I don't know why people don't just call it like it is that Joe Shane wanted to focus on the line. And to get a top pass rusher in this league is going to cost you a ton of money. It's a very expensive position. He chose Brian Burns over those two. Right or wrong, we'll find out in the next couple of years. Because anybody who thinks they know right or wrong, it's impossible, guys. If Saquon is a beast the next 3 years with that Philly offensive line, yeah, it's not going to look so good. But if Brian Burns lights it up,
he's a player that everyone thinks he's going to be,
then you have the argument either way. Now, if Barkley sucks and gets hurt or isn't the same player and Burns is like he's been, then the Giants will look like the winners. There's a couple different ways this whole thing can go, where they both could suck, and then we had no way to win either way. You never know. Yeah. That's the NFL. That's the fun of it. Like, year after year, every player is different. Every team is different. That's what I really do love about it, but I just think that in the end, we got to recognize what's going on here, and that we like to kind of pick sides and pick a villain. And there's no villain here, guys. The only villain is the whole way this whole thing went about, because people just didn't have the huevos, the balls to sit there and say, Saquon, I don't want you on the team. Or Saquon going, Joe, I don't really want to be in the team. Because they were both done with each other.
Or they both overread the situation and had no idea that the other person wanted the other person to be there, but there was no open line of communication. So how were they supposed to know? People just talk to one another. Yeah. That's all Drew and I try to say.
We're going to bring in Dr. Phil for this segment. Yeah. Dr. Phil. Oh, I'm not a real doctor.
But open line of communications goes a long way, okay?
Communication is key. He started to Mr. Garrison halfway through this conversation here.
Mackie.
Whatever it is. See some guy. All right. Let's get off the negative on the ex-Giants here. Let's talk about a current Giant. But before we do, guys, we talked about this a little during the draft time that we're going to have a nice little contest going for you guys here. So officially, we have begun the contest. So if anybody would like a Daniel Jones, if you can see through the plastic, I'm not taking this thing out of the plastic. Those on video, you can see that signature right there. Daniel Jones autographed jersey. It's got a
free bug-eyed
certificate of authenticity even. Then listen up if you want your chance to get it.
Enter to win a Daniel Jones signed jersey. Simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@2giantgoofballs, and email a screenshot to 2giantgoofballs@mail.com to enter. Only one submission allowed per subscriber. Monthly subscribers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs will get an additional 2 entries. Contest ends when the channel reaches 1,000 subscribers. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. This contest is not affiliated with the NFL, New York Giants, Daniel Jones, or any other person or company besides the 2 Giant Goofball podcast. Good luck to everyone.
All right, guys. So nice and simple. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Send us an email with the screenshot showing that. Let us know if you've also gone to buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs and sign up for the monthly. For subscribing, you get 1. For going on to the buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs, you get an additional 2. So you'll have 3 entries if you are a subscriber. So best luck to everybody there. Like I said, we'll be posting that each episode here until we get to the end of that contest there. So, all right, let's get into the next bit of Giants news here. And that's talking about that guy, the guy who signed that jersey, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Daniel Jones here. Me and Mr. Jones. Darren Waller back in the news here, standing up for Daniel Jones. There was a lot of people talking trash about how Darren Waller basically retired to avoid playing with Daniel Jones. But I'm sorry, it's a little funny, but it's messed up.
It's really funny.
But it's messed up. It's not. No, stop, guys. That's ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, what he said was, this is literally a quote from Darren Waller. Said, "I'm just excited for him to get another opportunity." This is on an interview we had at SiriusXM NFL Radio, by the way. He said, "I feel like he gets a bad rap. 2022, man, he played such good football. Last year was his first opportunity to get out there and play on the new bag he got. It was tough for us as an offense to protect him, and you can't put any quarterback back there and not have any protection and expect them to really, truly thrive in the pocket." Then he says, "I'm hoping that they get those things shored up and allow him an opportunity to show that he is a talented dude. He's very athletic. Like, get his opportunity to play the football that he was playing in 2022. I feel like that's definitely still in him. I know for a fact he's motivated and excited to get back out there, excited to lead. That's when you learn the most about dudes is responding to opportunities like this." I gotta say, this is a spectacular quote from Darren Waller, and I give him a lot of credit for 2 things.
No auto-tunes.
Yeah, 2 things. 1, respect for the man for saying it and saying it very publicly. The second thing is respect the man for not rapping it, because I would have stopped listening halfway through the quote at that point if he rapped it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a nice thing, and I think it kind of also defends Daniel Jones from those people that were saying that he was only doing, he was retiring to avoid playing with Daniel Jones, which I think he had to do at some point. But you didn't want to acknowledge that in the very beginning when he's doing the retirement, because that would just sound stupid. Like, I'm retiring and it has nothing to do with Daniel Jones. Like,
Yeah,
that would come off weird.
it was just
That would be like, seriously? Because that makes me think more that you are doing this because Daniel Jones. Like, if anything, that would have added to it. But the fact that, a month or so later, or however long it's been, I lose track of time, that he's come out now and said, hey, Daniel Jones is going to be legit this year. He's a really good player, and I respect the man. That tells you that was nothing to do with that decision. The decision, I think, really, as was already reported, was that medical scare that nobody knew about until he retired. Plus the fact that he keeps getting injured over and over and over again. So, good for him for standing up for a former teammate. And I think that shows a lot of character. It really does. For all the flaws that man may have, because we still don't know what happened with Kelsey Plum. So there's still the cheating rumors, though. It's just rumor. We have no news to say it for sure. But yeah, it's a classy move on his part to go ahead and defend Daniel Jones when, to the best of my knowledge, he brought up the topic, nobody else. So, good for him, and glad to see people sticking up for Daniel Jones and saying, hey, give him a chance. Because again, guys, we've said it before, we'll say it again. He may not be the best quarterback, but he's our best quarterback.
Amen.
That's the key. All right. So, speaking of Darren Waller here, another nice, interesting bit of news that came out there. Darius Slayton sensed retirement for Waller during the season, even. During the season. Ooh. So, he was on the All Facts No Breaks podcast with Keyshawn Johnson, Mr. Throw Me the Damn Ball. No matter how old I get, I will always, whenever I see Keyshawn Johnson, I will always think of that book. Like, that's horrible. That's classless right there. I'm sorry. But yeah, he said, I used to always tease him and say, I need one more year. I need one more year. But he would reply, man, Slay, I don't got it in me. I don't know. I don't know. So I kind of sensed he was probably nearing the end. I gotta say, that's during the season like that. Yeah.
The writing's on the wall.
That's no, but I'm saying it's kind of sad as a team that just traded for you. Like, we just traded for you. We're gonna have to owe you money when you retire. Like, maybe you should have said something before you got traded. Like, you might not want to get me. I'm towards the end. Like,
yeah, well. We guaranteed some money in the end.
But you know what I'm saying, though? It kind of
could have negotiated that.
It kind of came off a little bit like maybe this is what the Giants should have seen coming. Maybe they didn't do their homework on. I don't know. I don't know when that decision came. Like, I don't even know what part of the season this was. Was this like when he was coming back from another hamstring issue? Because they're saying the hamstring issues were nerve, not muscular. There's a difference between those two options, So, but I'm just curious because that adds another layer of intrigue to this whole trade at that point. Remember when the trade happened, like, oh my God, we just basically traded Kadarius Toney for Darren Waller. This is spectacular. This is an excellent deal. Joe Shane is the GM of the year. And then look what happened. Not trying to see he's a better player, but Kadarius Toney's still in the league for now. We'll see he make a cup at the Chiefs as the rumor goes.
I mean, at least he had more than 300 yards.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. It puts a sour note on the whole thing for me to hear during the season he was already saying he was going to retire, and that's his very first season after we traded for him.
Yeah,
like
you said, that's in context. Like, he could have seen it during the season. Was that week 15?
Yeah,
when he's been battling nonstop, coming back from injury, like. When it's towards the end of the year, that's one thing. But if it's also, 15 days, not week 15 after coming up.
That's where I'm curious. I'd love to hear when it happened. And I'd love to see, at least see in context to his injuries when that was. Maybe if you don't know the exact week. Was that him just being frustrated he's coming back from another injury? Was it him towards the end of the year saying he's basically done? Was he in the beginning of the year saying he's basically done? Like, it
was
matters.
The ink still drying on the contract?
It matters to how I take this comment, but it just comes off with like, oh, the Giants made a mistake with that trade clearly, and
again, womp womp.
I don't know if I look at that before that comment because I'm like, okay, well, how are we going to know the guy's going to retire after 1 year? But then you hear a comment like that and like, did they do the due diligence? Is there something they should have known they didn't know? Or did they know and they still decided to make the deal?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, and we never will know. That's stuff that Hard Knocks will not tell us, though I do hope Hard Knocks goes into his retirement a little bit.
That'd be fantastic.
I think it would be spectacular personally, myself too, as well. But like I said, we'll see as time goes if we happen to get more information on this. But that's an interesting, intriguing comment there. And I'm curious what kind of more information comes out on that, because that's a big thing of what's going to form my opinion in the future for that trade overall. Because if the Giants had no clue and had no way of knowing a clue he's going to retire, then it's still a good trade. You have to make the move. You may give a third-round pick. It's not like you gave up a first-rounder. But if the Giants had an inkling, or they should have had an inkling, that kind of changes the outcome of that. It kind of changes it. So, all right. Let's talk about the offense as a whole. The offensive offense. Because the Giants apparently have the 6th most expensive offense in the entire NFL, guys.
Ooh.
That's not good. So let me give you the top 10 list here. Number 1, the Browns at $191 million. You expect that. That's a lot to Deshaun Watson, obviously. Number 2, the Rams at $190.7. So just behind them. Number 1 and number 2 are really like, they're far out from everybody else. Let's be very frank about that for a second there. Number 3, the Chiefs at $170.7 million. Number 4, the Cowboys, $158.7 million. The Falcons at number 5, $151.5 million.
That's a lot of quarterbacks got over there.
That's a lot, yeah. Then number 7, the Giants, $149.3. Sorry, number 6, the Giants, $149.8 million. Now, here's what you'll notice on this list. Browns, Deshaun Watson. Matthew Stafford with the Rams. Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs. Dak Prescott with the Cowboys. And now, Mr. Captain Kirk Cousins here with the Falcons. All expensive quarterback deals. So, this was released on Twitter by Walter Sharp. And, Warren Sharp, I apologize. And this was made to a big deal, as if it should be some kind of surprise. I'm not so sure it should be a surprise, to be very frank with you guys. We have a very, very high contract for a quarterback. That's what's going to happen. Now, here's what's interesting. Go past the Giants. Number 7, the Colts at $149.3. They have a rookie quarterback. Number 8, the Niners, $147.5. What do they have? A quarterback and a rookie deal.
Yep.
Number 9, the Panthers at $146.2. Number 10, the Bengals, $140.8. Now, they obviously have
Joe Burrow,
and they have wide receivers that paying a lot of money too. They're just not paying a lot of money to their offensive line, or else that would be up even higher. But here's the cap numbers that are killing us, guys, as far as the offense overall. And I mean killing us as far as not warranted, whatever the case may be, but killing us as far as why it's taking such a high percentage of our salary. Daniel Jones, number 1 by far, $47.855 million. The second one, Andrew Thomas, $23.263 million this year against the cap. Those two, those two are equating for $71 million, basically, guys. Again, our number, $149.3 million. Those two are almost half that. That's why the offense is so expensive. They literally equate those two for 28% of the team's cap space. That's insane. The next highest on offense, by the way, is Darius Slayton at $7.75 million.
Woof.
That's how far down you go. Yeah. Like, that's insane to go from $48 million to $23 million to $7.
Just
Like,
shy of 8.
You want more proof that those two are taking up all the cap space? There you go. By the way, the highest cap space hits on defense, if you're curious, Brian Burns, $15.5 million, Dexter Lawrence, $14.5 million, and Bobby Okereke at $11.2. All acceptable hits, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Those are the two cap hits that are huge. And what's crazy is the Giants could easily get Andrew Thomas's number down if they wanted to and needed to. And this is part of why I get upset when they're like, oh, we couldn't afford Barkley. Yes, we could have. We didn't want him. We could have afforded him because you could easily restructure Andrew Thomas's deal and get his cap number down this year. Could have easily done it. But they don't want to, because if you don't have to, why would you move? Why would you kick the can down the road when you can keep the can here and have a free road later on? Maybe that's not the best analogy. I don't know.
No.
But
it's not a
you know what I mean, though. You know what I mean.
Full-time $1 million cans.
Yeah. And Daniel Jones, you can't move money because guess what? If you have to get rid of Daniel Jones next year, it becomes harder to do that if you start moving money down. So that's why it is. So again, it was a shocker to a lot of people on social media. I'm not quite sure why. So accept it. We have two very, very high paid players. One of them deserves it. One of them gets a chance to prove he deserves it, but as of right now, does not. Let's see what happens this year. Hopefully they both earn their keep, so to speak, this year, and go wild on the NFL. So, but in the meantime, guys, don't be shocked when you're paying that kind of money to your top two players. That shouldn't be shocking at all. So, let's talk about an option if one guy doesn't succeed, though, because a rumor got started by Christopher Knox, the Bleacher Report. And he said the Giants should trade for Taylor Heineke. Thought that was a little crazy. Here's what he said exactly. He said Heineke can likely be had for a price. Well, of course, any player can be had for a price, first off. That's it. I hate people say, this player can be had for a price.
Yeah, no, could be costly to your team.
We can have Patrick Mahomes for a price too. If you offer 10 first-round picks, you could have him too, I'm sure. Like anybody can be had for a price. It's a matter of whether you want to pay the price. Anyway, he said a day 3 draft pick would probably get a deal done right now, as moving Heineke would also save Atlanta $1.2 million in cap space. The Cleveland Browns just flipped Joshua Dobbs and a 7th-round pick for a 5th-round pick last offseason. The New York Giants could look for added insurance as Daniel Jones recovers from this torn ACL. That's where the Cardinals were with Kyler Murray when they traded for Dobbs. The Las Vegas Raiders could also have interest in Heineke if they aren't thrilled with how the competition between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew is unfolding. Now, if Daniel Jones gets hurt, we're to say it that way. If Daniel Jones gets hurt, or if he looks like Daniel Jones of last year, maybe. But guys, is Taylor Heineke really better than Drew Lock?
I mean, at least you know he's a leader.
Yes, and that's we've talked about that before about him. This man is definitely a leader. Like, this is a guy that people will run through a brick wall for. Unfortunately, he has no physical attributes of actually playing the position. That's the problem. Like, he's got a weak arm. He doesn't see defense as well. But people love him. He's special.
I mean, Fitzmagic had a nice career, and
he had a little bit of an arm, though.
Touche.
A little bit of an arm.
If it's
magic.
magic.
That's what Taylor Heineke is. But to me, part of the equation is where the Giants at that exact moment where they go, you know what, maybe we should trade for somebody. Because if the Giants, let's say hypothetically, and this is, I'm not trying to put this out, let me knock on wood. I have a wooden desk here. We can do that. But let's say hypothetically the Giants start off 0-4 and Daniel Jones gets hurt. Why would you trade for a quarterback at 0-4? Now the Giants are 4-0 and Daniel Jones gets hurt. And you think Taylor Heineke is what the difference between you making or not making the playoffs? Then yeah, go for it. You're not going to give up that much. And that example they gave, you gave up a 5th round. We got a 7th round back. Most 5th round players don't work out. Obviously, even less 7th rounders, but that's not a huge loss. I would make that deal all day long. If I thought it's the difference between me getting to the playoffs or not. That's the difference. You have to think he's better than Drew Lock. You have to think he's better than Tommy DeVito. Or anybody else that's available.
Forget about it.
So I don't know. I don't see it personally. I don't see that as like, oh, this is a slam dunk deal. I'm a little shocked they even put that out there. Like, by all reports, Daniel Jones is healing very well from that ACL injury. He's going to be ready for the start of the season. I don't understand otherwise, unless they're that concerned about it. But they mentioned the ACL. They didn't mention performance.
Yeah, I mean,
they mentioned recovery.
I don't know. There's a reason why they spent the extra money on Drew Lock. I think this is a bogus move unless, like you said, a month down the road after regular season starts, you're playing well. 6 weeks, week 6, 7. DJ gets hurt. You got a pretty solid record. Good chance to go to the playoffs. Then you take your shot.
Yeah, but
coming
again,
off,
you take
coming off the year.
Heineke's better than Locke.
I mean, it depends on the injury. That depends on what they have. Hypothetically, because if I wish ill or saying that he's going to get hurt, but again, week 6 or 7, DJ re-tears that ACL. Andrew Locke is still there. You still got DeVito. I still would look at the opportunity or the option of getting Heineke because, like, what if something happens to Locke? Let them battle it out down the road. What if Locke's the better choice at first, but Heineke comes in, there's a system plays better than Locke? You have the opportunity to switch in and out.
I don't know.
That's something I would entertain. But right now, currently where we sit, it's not worth the shot.
Like I said, to me, it's all whatever your evaluation is. And the benefit is the Giants have had time to evaluate Drew Lock, obviously, into this training camp before such a move would have to happen, obviously. But the Giants also had a chance to evaluate Taylor Heineke over the last couple of years prior to last year when he was still playing with the Commanders. Whatever the hell their name was prior to that. So
the football team.
The Washington football team.
Football team.
It's like that would feel ridiculous even going to. Who are you going to go see? Oh, I'm watching the Washington football team.
Yeah.
What's their name?
Football.
The Washington football team.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I get it. You're watching football. What's the name of the team?
The football team.
All right, we get it. Insert Abbott Costello.
Oh my God, it would be they would have a field day with that. But yeah, like I said, that's the only time it would make any sense to me. Otherwise, like I said, I'm good. I'm ride or die on what we got. I'm not giving up extra draft picks because if we don't have a good season, then we're probably going to be looking to go ahead and pick up a quarterback, which means draft capital is of the imperative for us to hold on to.
Yep.
We need some draft picks. So let's get into some talk about some prior Giants after we pay the bills. Oh, yes, I remember to pay the bills.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. Buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
Oh yes, Rob's very happy that I pay the bills.
On time, and remember, yay.
Never. All right, let's see. So John says, "You sound like a scene in Dude, Where's My Car?" And then,
No, and then.
But then,
No,
he
and
says, Shane wouldn't have matched the original offer. He talked with the agent when they changed it. Philly was out, Chicago was in, and they raised it. So F Saquon. I think honestly he got wrong information because Philly was not out. By all accounts, Philly was never out. The Bears were definitely in at some point. The Bears thought they'd pair him up with Caleb Williams and he'd help a rookie quarterback. Like that worked out so well the first time we tried to pair him with a rookie quarterback, but I'm saying he then says, I just want to know if he ran the last offer by Mara because I don't see why he was out without telling Mara. Mara should have final in Saquon. No, that's not what Mara's job is. Mara's job is to sign checks. Mara gave the option for Joe Shane to run this franchise, and he said yes. He made him the general manager and senior vice president of football operations, I think is the title he has within this company.
I believe so.
So, you gave him the option. Let's be very frank. When earlier episodes of Hard Knocks happened, and John Mara said to Joe Shane, I'd really like to keep him, and Joe Shane said, that's nice, we're not going to. That would not have gone that way if that arrangement was already.
That was Jerry Jones. He'd be like, "Oh, that's nice."
Yeah, well, Jerry Jones would have been Joe Shane and John Mara put together.
Yeah,
but he's trying to let his people do what he hired them for. That's what it all boils down to. He says you got to pay it for that little bit of money instead of letting him go to the main rival or Cal Bukes. Interesting. He says the Eagles are the main rival. I kind of look at them as co-main rivals. I hate them both. He says these guys need to learn to talk to each other better to work out these deals. To me, it's a very unprofessional. Okay, we'll do first offer. You said not going past maybe $1 million more, something like that. Yeah. Again, I think there's a lot of miscommunication and breakdown at that point. And he says, or ask Mara most money he will spend for Saquon before letting him go. But here's the thing. You can't let Mara decide that. That's not the way a football team works. That's not.
Shouldn't. Look at the Cowboys.
But I'm saying it's not. It's not the way a successful team runs. Look at the Cowboys.
Yeah. Correct.
I mean, you can't expect the guy who writes the checks to also be the guy to understand the capology of the whole thing and to look long term like that. Mara's looking at who we buy jerseys for. That's what he's looking at. He's not looking at the rest of it there. He's thinking with his wallet. And this is why you get a guy who cares about the football team running the football team. So,
yeah.
Then he says, okay, I've done all that. Give me my effing jersey. No, you get an entry. You get an entry, John. You go ahead and take a screenshot. You email it to 2giantgoofballs@mail.com. You also mentioned that you are a subscriber because I know you are. And then you get 3 entries for the jersey. You don't just get a jersey automatically. I only have 1 jersey. I don't have 10,000 jerseys. If I could kidnap Daniel Jones, let him make him sign all the jerseys all day long and give you all jerseys. But
we're all like, is he bug eyed? Is that drugs? No, he just was really in dire need of Visine because Drew kidnapped him and he signed so many jerseys.
Does this smell like chloroform?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into our last bits here. We got 2 more pieces of information to go over with you guys here with some ex-Giants. Here. First one is really good news. Second one, not so much. First news is the good one there. Saquon. So you talk about Saquon.
Wait.
Michael Strahan's daughter, Isabella, is now officially cancer-free. Definitely the best news you can get out of that kind of scenario, though. It was announced on the 18th of July on her YouTube channel. She said it was a great scans. Everything was clear, cancer-free. Everything was great. I won't have another doctor's appointment until October. Now, that's in a vlog post she has on YouTube entitled Goodbye Hospital. Now, she has been doing her whole cancer treatment journey, whatever you want to call it at that point, on YouTube. And I got to say, I give her credit for that. Taking something that personal, putting it out there for everybody to see, because that probably does help other people that are also going through the same thing that she's going through. And
100%.
not all of them have access to some of the stuff she has because her dad's money. Like, I'm not blaming her that she has that access. Don't get me wrong. But not everybody has that. There are people struggling for, support systems, money for prescriptions, things of that nature. So,
or just support. Some people don't have the back end of like just people around her that like she could be that person to help provide that, knowing what they're going through.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. That's what she probably is doing for some people, where they're seeing, okay, here's this person doing it, and a very young person. Was she like 19, I think, or something like that? I don't have that on front of me. But I think she's very, very young. And here's somebody very, very young going through it. Where you see somebody that's very young, going through it, you go, okay, well, this really can't happen to anybody. Here's this young, healthy girl that's dealing with the same exact issue I am. It's nice of her really to do that. She didn't have to do that. It doesn't benefit any, in her any sort of way monetarily, to the best of my knowledge, besides if she gets some YouTube money, which is not that much really.
She's 20, by the way.
20. Okay, I thought it was around. I thought she was close. I was close. So she finished her last chemo treatment on June 20th. At the time, Michael Strahan wrote, "Isabella, you are a superwoman." That's in capitals, which means he's yelling. Ring that bell, finishing chemo, and on your way. You continue to fight with a smile on your face, strength, and determination. I am one proud dad. Love you, Bella. So, we could not be happier for the whole Strahan family, for everybody that knows Bella and everybody that's, been involved with that journey of hers. Definitely hope the best for everybody else that's dealing with any kind of similar journeys, because that's rough. That's real stuff there, guys. And hopefully the good news keeps pouring out there, because we all know that good news is not always permanently good news. You want it to be permanent. I'm not trying to put that out there. I'm just saying, the journey is not always over. And she'll have consistent scans and doctor visits, I'm sure, to verify nothing comes back and everything is truly good to go. And we hope just positive news going forward, obviously. All right.
100%. Yeah.
Let's get into the not so good news here, because we got too serious there for a moment.
Interesting news. It makes me think of Waterboy.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Don't smoke crack. LT arrested in Florida. We found Florida man.
Florida man.
LT
man.
This is from TMZ, which I always find it bad when we have to quote TMZ in a story, because that means something bad happened. Lawrence Taylor was arrested again in Florida this week. TMZ Sports has learned after he was accused yet again of failing to follow conditions imposed on him as a registered sex offender. Broward County jail officials tell us Taylor turned himself in an outstanding felony warrant on Wednesday at about 5 p.m. was thrown behind bars on one charge of failure to report name or residence change. LT was in jail from about 5 p.m. there Wednesday when he came in for there till about 3 a.m. the next morning. This is a statement from LT's attorney, Mark Eiglarsh. I might be mispronouncing it. It's Eiglarsh. If anybody's interested in needing an attorney. He says, my client, Lawrence Taylor, has been pleading not guilty to the recent charges. As with the previous incident involving the same allegations, Mr. Taylor did not knowingly commit any criminal offense. This situation is a significant misunderstanding. We are confident that once the prosecutors review the exculpatory evidence, I don't know that. That's a legal term there. To watch more Suits to get that one. Evidence discriminating Mr. Taylor's innocence, he will once again achieve a favorable outcome. Now, what's interesting is all the names and information he's giving there, because LT was arrested on a very similar charge in 2021 and pleaded no contest to a lesser charge. So it wasn't like he was like, let go and you're innocent. Oh, I'm so sorry, we made a mistake. No. they just said, okay, plead down. We don't want to take this to court. And he did. Like, that's what he did. So it's a little weird, interesting, wording by LT's attorney there as far as saying that kind of stuff there. So what it sounds like happened is basically LT keeps moving and afraid to tell people he moved. So he is a registered sex offender. And correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, because I believe the scenario was he had a prostitute that turned out to be underage. I
believe that's what it was.
And that he said the girl told him she was over 18. But she wasn't. So, at that point, you are a sex offender with a minor. And yes, you will have to register. Now, I wasn't there. I'm not laying claim to anything that he did right or wrong, whatever. I'll be the first person to tell you I don't care about prostitution. I think it should be legal in this country anyway, as it is, point blank. I don't understand the difference between paying for sex or paying for a lobster dinner. Either way, you're paying. You're just giving up cash instead of the dinner.
Sometimes, if you're good, you could take her to McDonald's. Take it to the value menu.
Problem was, it seemed like he was going for a Happy Meal on this occasion.
Yeah. Well, also say you pay for a Happy Meal for a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
Ooh,
but
hey, there's sparking in there.
Oh gosh. I don't think McDonald's
comes with a prize.
But yeah, I mean, if that's what he did, and then yeah, that's what you have to do. You have to register now as a sex offender. He's LT living in Florida. I can tell you that. I don't think Jersey does. I don't remember seeing this in Jersey, but they literally put a picture of you up in the library and everything if you live in the area. Like, I don't think they do that in Jersey.
No, but it does go around that there's a sex offender in your neighborhood.
Yeah. So like, that's all.
And there's also an application where you can put like sex offenders and it shows you where they live.
Oh yeah, I should look that up before I buy a house. Always. Seriously, I do. So I know I'm not going to be.
Just in case you get raped.
I need to make sure LT's not near me.
Yeah,
but
that's how you find them.
But like I said, I it's like, dude, it's not that difficult. This is the rule. You moved. Just tell the damn police you moved.
It's not that hard.
It's really not. It
I'm
seems
sure.
Unless there's something we're not aware of, because obviously we're not in the legal proceedings. But it seems like a very simple thing. And here's part of the problem for LT that he don't think he quite realized in this whole thing. He is a celebrity, yes. But he's a celebrity that's aged. That at this point, the NFL, I feel like, has already kind of walked away from LT. You notice you don't see LT in any NFL things. And he is the GOAT. He is the greatest defensive player to ever walk this earth. I'm sorry, he is. Anybody that thinks otherwise, just turn the podcast off. You're wrong. Turn it back on, though.
Yeah, please. You're entitled to your own opinion. It's
true. But I'm just saying, like, he is the greatest defensive player to ever play this game. And the NFL doesn't seem to want anything to do with him. Whereas you got Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, even Ray Lewis. The guy murdered somebody potentially,
Allegedly.
Got accused, and the NFL does more with him than they do LT. If he continues down this road, the Giants are going to distance themselves.
Well, it's that, and like you said, the NFL's already pushed himself away. And like, LT already got himself in trouble for, we all know, besides the prostitution allegations, which I shouldn't say allegations because it's true. They're proven.
It's true. He said he's true. Point blank, if I remember correctly. So
correct, but like, I mean, I got the drug charges.
Age.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit there and judge. Like, what are you supposed to like card a prostitute before you sleep with her? Like, I don't know what the rules are.
I guess if you're doing a transaction, maybe you should look at all the paperwork.
I don't know what the rules are. You know what I mean?
Maybe you should bring a lawyer to the transaction because you know what? When you go buy a car, you should probably bring a mechanic to look over your history of what's going on. Unless you're buying brand new off the lot. But
I also don't know what the girl looked like. For all I know, she looked like she was a kid, and for all I know, she looked like she was an adult. I don't know. So I said, I don't want to judge without having all the information on that whole thing. And it's a really slippery slope where I'm trying to come up with the scumbag either. Because like obviously I'm anti doing that.
Listen, yeah. There shouldn't be any situation where a minor has to put themselves into
never
that
should
kind of line of work.
Point blank. Like
adult, there shouldn't be a situation.
If an adult wants to do it, I have no problem with it. Just saying.
Yeah. And there shouldn't be a situation where an adult man or female, puts himself on a minor.
Yeah, no.
So, but that being said, all right, maybe she looked like she was 20, 21. At the time was like 30, and she was 17 and 3/4.
But that situation, part of it's already over. Like, at this point, it's just tell the damn cops you moved.
Yeah. You just got to follow up what you've been doing now for the past 25 years?
Exactly. Tell them you moved. It's not that difficult.
Right, because that was the 90s to happen, right? So you're talking close to 30 years. He's got to be, to deal with this.
It's just crazy. So, honestly, I don't know what to think of it.
Maybe
information, but
maybe he should contact a rep at the bank. Every time he sells a house and buys a new house, the bank should be like, hey, Mr. LT, remember your lawful duty you have to do when you purchase a new home?
Or
tell the municipality.
Call me crazy. Contact your lawyer that you obviously contacted in this scenario before you get arrested and say, hey, I'm moving. What should I do before I move into this new home?
Yeah. Or, tell your, property lawyer,
but
can you call my other lawyer for me?
Like, he can get all this done. It's just crazy. It's a lack of caring enough to do it. And that's what it boils down to.
And like I said, he's already done this. He's a celebrity that is now aging, and where he was, his cash cow was like they're dentists, like they're pushing themselves away. So what's going to happen to all that monies if you just keep on getting fined, putting yourself to jail? Like, you're going to burn through it because you just don't care.
Yeah. So craziness. All righty, guys. That's going to call it a show, though, for us here. So we'll be back again for you guys on Wednesday night. You know what tomorrow night is, right? It's Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks tomorrow. They've already kind of given us the preview. And they were talking all about the draft. They've already been talking about, how good Neighbors looked at that point during a workout, possibly trading up for Jaden Daniels. So we're going to be in the some of the rooms, at least, I'll put it that way, for draft night during this episode, it seems like, and, some of the workouts leading up to the draft as well. So I'm kind of excited to see this one because I want to see where the Giants are with all the different players and what they thought of all the different players leading up to it and where they wanted to be. So, definitely kind of interesting to see there. So, as always, guys, we are live every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, Twitter/X, potentially soon again. We're not on it right now because the pay thing they want us to do there. I just got to look at signing up for that potentially. But we're also, like I said, Facebook, in YouTube still, and also Twitch. And of course, like I said, we're available to the audio podcast platforms the next day, also at 5 a.m. The next day on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all that kind of fun stuff there. So if you haven't already, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share, send it out, tell a friend, And as always, guys,
Go G-Man!
Go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm